Okay. Thank you very much. Dear colleagues, architects, I also started as you, and then the life turns me into the wood science. So I'm working now as a professor of architecture with timber scientists and with civil engineers, coming from University of Ljubljana, biotechnical faculty. And I just want to show you some data about yes, where we are. Actually, it's only 14 hours away, and we are a small country, Slovenia, near Italy and Austria and Croatia and Hungary. We are just 2 million of people, and especially I would like to point out and encourage you to come as Erasmus students. There is a great history in using wood in Slovenia. We are the third most forested country besides Sweden and Finland. And the vernacular architecture is really very nice with different wooden structures like hyrex, sheds, and granaries, which also reflects in the contemporary modern timber architecture in Slovenia. Some facts about University of Ljubljana, maybe just that we are the oldest and the biggest one with around 3,000 students, not comparable with you, where you are 20,000, yeah. And biotechnical faculty has several departments, like biology, landscape architecture, agriculture, forestry, and also Department of Wood Science and Technology, where I belong. So maybe it's also interesting our study program. We have like bachelors in the first cycle, accepting around 80 students, then followed by master program. So bachelor is 3 years, master is 2 years, and afterwards you can choose a PhD program. I think for you it would be very interesting maybe that you would come as a master student or as a bachelor in the first cycle through the Erasmus Plus system. We have a contract, so it is open that you come and your professors and teachers in college. Yeah. Maybe it's also interesting that we established the dual degree program with Luleå University in Sweden, which runs on the master on the second cycle. Especially the wood science, it is connected with architecture, with civil engineering and forestry, but also with other sciences which will absolutely change the perception of using wood as a sustainable and contemporary material. So my research focused primarily on the advances in timber constructions, and we do an emphasis on personal tutoring and work in small groups. The system,
please, the translator system started working.
It's like exactly, yeah.
So if it,
Yeah.
we wait a few minutes because we are sent the information to the students.
Okay.
¿Tienen los números? Vamos a repartir rápidamente.
Se arregló el problema. Pueden tener.
you get the information how to come in the frame of Erasmus Plus program in Slovenia and take opportunity to study several months, normally like 5 months, and you get a grant to live abroad. So we have a contract between your university and our university for staff and for the students, and you're very welcome to apply that opportunity to get experiences in Europe. Since Slovenia has a great position that you can travel also to Austria and Italy, it's a great opportunity. And we also, yeah, this is some issue that we speak English, but this is just challenging. Okay. So learning by doing, and we know that these demonstration projects are so important to show the possibility with timber construction and the challenges for the study interacting with wood scientists. There are some projects that we develop, and especially we view the emphasis also on the intellectual property, where the students are taught how to write patents and models. Lately, there was a survey about the perception of engineered wood products by architects, which result in several publications and books, because we know that the wood science results are too few communicated with architects, because the architects, we are the one who use them. So there are great examples of use new engineered wood products in built environment with emphasis of interior and exterior diversity. We want to cooperate a lot with industry. So already in the study time, students are involved in the process of practical work with companies, and we run every Friday the field excursions, where students can learn about different technologies used in timber buildings. This is an example of the projects that students also then under supervision of industry do. So firstly, we go to the company and check the production and especially the construction department. And then students plan their projects, and also the projects results in different exhibitions. This is an example. We are using SEMA software, but there are some other alternatives. And also, after the students made their projects, they also follow some buildings in the building process. We are cooperating with different companies, and there is a big emphasis also on the demonstration of company products. I also heard that you cooperate with Rotoblas,
Yes.
and this is also very good, because the companies are donating us the material that we can then use for the pilot projects. Absolutely, we need to be in line with the industry that reflects in our study program. But we're not cooperating only with civil engineers and with the companies that are orientated in timber buildings, but also with product designers, industrial designers, and this is an example of a project that we run, and then also made the exhibition and show how the cooperation and teamwork between different study programs could result. And we are also artistic and developed artistic skills, and I think that you are also very good in sketching. So some photos of our exhibitions. It is our teamwork that starts everywhere in workshops. Sometimes it is more connected, the architects with civil engineers or and the wood scientists. It is a very good example of technical university Graz, which is very close to Ljubljana, our town in Slovenia, where they developed a good way and study interaction between architects and civil engineers, but they're also in the same building, so this may be also some advantage. We believe that we need to learn, cooperate, architects, civil engineers, and wood scientists already in the time of study. Now I would like to show some advanced projects, Slovenian timber architecture, because we are recognized as very developed. And also we have a green public procurement regulation, which is required that 30% of inbuilt materials by volume must be wood or wood-based for the public buildings. Most of our buildings are very energy efficient, almost passive houses, and we use a timber frame system, panel system, which also is nowadays very comparable with CLT, the innovation that based on tradition. It is very interesting how it was introduced in the 90s when it was a niche product, and then in a second phase, it was used for some pilot projects that architects use and won the national and international competitions. And in the third phase, nowadays, we use it really very much, and the architects are perceived this product could be as a panel, could be a customized type of product or pre-manufactured CLT modules. Wood is absolutely trendy material in Europe and is connected with naturalness, comfort, ecology, and we want to show national projects, good project as pilot projects through the National Award Timber Constructions to present different type of projects. And I will just pass quickly that timber construction is not used only for the individual buildings, but also for different kind of buildings. Also, multi-story buildings. So this is an example, multi-story talking by us, it is about 3-story. Also some modular buildings are introduced nowadays, but also public buildings like kindergartens, school objects, youth hostel, hotels, industrial buildings, sport facilities, and some tourist buildings that shows also a good integration into the landscape. We are introducing also circular economy in timber buildings. This is an example of Expo Pavilion in Milano that was supposed to move in another location after the use, and it is a very good example. So trends in the future that will influence use of timber are ecology and short construction times, flexibility, but by us, absolutely the energy efficiency is a very important factor. We should be inspired by another industries like this car industry, where the new technology really changed in last 100 years. But we believe that industrialization of building processes is the chance for the timber. And this is a perfect material that offers the prefabrication. which results in short building time with clean and efficient way of building, less mistakes, and some other. Also, the challenge is reconstruction, the thermal modernization of older buildings with timber panels, reconstruction, or additional stories which could be built with a light timber construction. Vienna is a very good example of a modern city that increased building height and density with timber constructions. Also, the future opportunities are parametric design, production with minimum tolerances and a huge flexibility. Especially challenge are multi-story buildings, some great project that I believe you know. Maybe it's very good that you check some producers. Blumen and Lehmann is one of the most developed Swiss company cooperating with Shigeru Ban. So the last project is a Slovenian Expo Pavilion in Dubai, which was also a very advanced construction, and it was formed like a parasol, a large wooden construction, parametrical design. So the challenges are, besides knowing that this is really the best and renewable material that we can use nowadays, also to use more hardwoods and new engineered wood products. We know that there are some issues with timber constructions like soundproofing or fire requirements, weather protections, but still the big challenge is high prefabrication as a basic principle, more modular buildings, and increase the partnership responsibilities for planning and construction as a team process. So thank you very much. So since we have very few time and leaving, maybe on the end some questions. Okay. Yeah.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to be here today. So I'm also coming from Slovenia, Andrea Kutnar, and I'm coming from two institutions, University of Primorska, which is located at the coast in Slovenia. We have a small, tiny coastal line of Adriatic Sea. And we have a master study program, Sustainable Built Environment, and a PhD study program, Renewable Materials for Healthy Living Environments. At the same time, I'm also a director of a research institute, InnoRenew, that is rather a new one and was founded in 2017. And is founded by University of Primorska, Civil Engineering Institute of Slovenia, Cultural Heritage Institute of Slovenia, and a German institute, Fraunhofer. We employ 62 personnel, and one of our specialties that we have a lot of international employees, more or less half of them are coming from different parts of the world. We don't have anyone from Chile yet, but please do follow soon. Okay. So, and we are working on different projects, but to not go too much into the inner renew and presenting you the institute, we just go into my topic today that I entitled Can Wood Solve the Climate Crisis? The reason we are talking about it is that here is one video, which I don't know if it can be shown. Can you maybe help me if it could be, yeah, why we need it? So that's the reason. It's a glacier in Austria that was looking like this just a few years ago, and today it's disappearing. Our future generations will not be able to actually experience it. And we have a huge problem of temperature increase in the globe. And unfortunately, we need to act. And the small Slovenia, where we are coming from, is here, where it's a really dark color. So the temperatures in Slovenia are actually rising faster than in other parts of Europe. It's probably a special location with the Alps on the top, and this is something that is motivating us considerably. Looking at Chile, I see that you don't have that many problems yet, but you need to think of us as well. So, and in 2020, there was a publication in the journal Nature, which I'm sure you know of, where they communicated that in 2020, we actually had more man-made materials on this planet compared to a biomass. And then there was also a study done that demonstrated that 40% of our environmental impacts are actually caused by the built environment. And can we solve it? Can we solve it with timber, the climate crisis? In my belief, we can if we are bringing wood back where it used to be. Of course, I don't think we will be driving with wooden wheels, but it's just to remind us that we had it present in many applications in the past. Our colleagues in Denmark developed a pyramid where they were communicating about the environmental impacts of different building materials. And unfortunately, today in the construction sector, we are using materials that are on the top that have high environmental impacts, while wood and wood-based products, they're actually climate negative, and our challenge is how to actually replace the materials that are today used in the building sector. And also in 2020, the climate scientists actually published also in Nature a paper that buildings can be a carbon sink. And they started to become ambassadors, I would say, for wood scientists and engineers, as well as architects, the ones that like the wood. So I hope that today, Manya and I inspired you, that you will start thinking of wooden buildings. But then, of course, also in the scientific community, there are discussions, and there was in 2023, last year, also in Nature, published a paper that was saying that using wood is not that nice to the climate. And of course, there are areas around the globe that deforestation is happening. And so we need to use the wood in sustainable way, just to emphasize that it's not always good just to go blinded into one direction. So climate crisis is here and we need to respond to it. And in my belief, we can support the challenges that we are facing if we are bringing wood back where it used to be. If we learn how to use different wood species, because, for example, in Europe, we are using a lot of CLT that mainly uses spruce. And we need to learn how to also use other wood species. And we need to find ways how we are limiting the amount of fossil-based adhesives, coatings, preservatives that are actually used in the wood engineered products. And one very important as well is we need to stop burning wood. There is the particles, emissions that are actually caused by burning wood are considerably contributing to the rise of temperature in the globe. But one thing that when I said we need to bring wood back where it used to be was also a paper published in Nature that's actually discovered it was more than 470,000 years ago already big wooden structures, which is the time that we as humans, we were still developing, but it was found in Zambia. And my belief is that that might be the reason why we as humans feel good in wooden environment. So this is something that I'm challenging the psychologists to develop new theories because potentially this can be the reason. But going further, so in the past, we had a really good collaboration between the user of the material and forestry. There is an example from 18th century that they were directing how to prune the tree in order to get a special shape to be used in the Venetian Navy. And this pruning and this harvest or planting of the oak trees actually was happening in Slovenia and Croatia, where we are coming from that history, but they were doing it in unsustainable way. So today we can actually count with fingers how many oak trees we have in that region. So it's another thing that is reminding us. But today we don't do this anymore. Today we are developing different engineered products. And of course, how can we use more timber? We have new species that are not only needed to be used, the ones that are existing. The fact is also that new species are available due to the climate change. And as Manya earlier mentioned, there is a lot of ambitions how to use the hardwoods in the built environment. And wood is a very complex material. I'm a wood scientist, so I go all the way down the chain, what it means. Architects oftentimes discuss wood as wood, but we are all with the wood scientists, we are understanding different wood species, the microfiber angles, chemical structure, and so on. So it's, I think, important that we collaborate strongly together. In the past, that's how it looked like, but today we are, of course, introducing the digital world, the robots, and going also with the scanning of the trees and all the way to the buildings. But to transform the built environment into a carbon sink, especially in Europe, it's not only about new buildings. We have a lot of cultural heritage, old buildings that we need to also renovate and refurbish and introduce the renewable materials in it. And in Europe, there is maybe some of you heard of that we have this ambition about climate neutrality, and the European Commission put in place a so-called Green Deal with the ambition that we become carbon neutral continent, and in 2021 introduced so-called new European Bauhaus. How many of you know the old Bauhaus, traditional Bauhaus? Everyone, right? Yes. So European Commission was actually inspired by the traditional Bauhaus and called it New European Bauhaus to rebuild Europe and do it in an inclusive way, in sustainable way, and in beautiful way. So we are trying to really, on different levels, to change this built environment in Europe. And at InnoRenew at our research institute, we are approaching this with interdisciplinary problem solving, including human health aspects and how the building actually impacts us, our well-being. At the Institute, we are focusing on so-called regenerative sustainability. That is not only different advanced uses of materials, but also about engineered living materials. So how can we mimic nature? How can we bring the nature to the built environment? And the concept of design of buildings that is we named restorative environmental and ergonomic design. It's also our building where we are hosted was designed by this concept, and it's the biggest wooden building in Slovenia that I hope many of you will come visit. And it's a CLT building. But I'm not going to go into much details, but maybe to come back to these developments where we are. So we believe that in 2030, there will be way more of this mimicking of nature in the built environment by different living materials that we will be introducing to the built environment. Regenerative sustainability mentioned earlier, it's in other words, not just doing less bad, but doing things in a way that they have a positive impact. In the laboratories or in the biggest wooden building in Slovenia where we are, we have also laboratories where it's enabling us the research in this interdisciplinary way that is equipped with state-of-the-art equipment. So you can look at it at the webpage if you see something interesting. And of course, you're welcome to come visit us. The building itself is a research object. So if you want to learn more about the timber buildings, you can come and see how the sensors keep different monitoring of health of building, especially moisture, and that is so critical for wooden buildings. And you can also through us get access to the data of the buildings because it's all digitalized with Oregon State University in US, as well as in Helsinki or in Finland, University of Helsinki has a building. So we have 3 mass timber CLT buildings around the globe in different climates that you can actually look at how different microclimate, how different orientations, how it's actually impacting the timber. One example of a knowledge transfer of our institute where we are applying this interdisciplinarity is a hotel in Cortina del Pezzo in Italy that was a reconstructed building, and we advised the architects how to apply restorative environmental and ergonomic design in this reconstruction, and the hotel was awarded as the best hotel by National Geographic. And one specialty about it is that they only use reclaimed wood, so wood that has been used somewhere else before. But to come back to climate change, so the temperatures are rising. We have hotter, especially now. That's the case for Slovenia. You know, we have fewer cold days, we have more warm days, but there is also hail, floods, storms, extreme conditions that we are exposed to. And therefore, we need to, when we are building today or designing the buildings, also take this into account so that we have a new normal. It's not every 100 years that the flood happens, but it's something that we don't really know when exactly it's going to happen. We need to also learn how to use new timber species, and we should mimic the nature. Nature was learning for millions of years and figured out how to protect one material towards the other, and it applied in the built environment. And at the same time, we know that this transition in this built environment can only happen if we are reskilling, upskilling the whole so-called construction ecosystem, not only architects. Architects, of course, you are the most important one because you are the one that usually everyone looks at and listens. But we need to really emphasize the development of skills. And not only the traditional ones, you know, with the chemistry and mechanical properties, engineering and so on, but also introduce the sustainability, digitalization, social sciences, and creativity to these tasks. Because of this ambition for upskilling, reskilling, also European Union realized that if we want to make the Green Deal happen, we need to upskill and reskill 3 million workers in construction ecosystem, and we established so-called New European Bauhaus Academy. And it's the first hub where the whole thing is growing Europe-wise. It's established at the University of Primorska, and I'm the head of this academy. But it's located in our building, the biggest wooden building in Slovenia that I mentioned earlier, and we have different activities to be like online as well as offline trainings that we are developing. We are now establishing a hub in a few days, will be established in Italy. And in April, 1st of April, we are creating hubs in Scandinavia, in Estonia, Finland, Sweden, in Spain, as well as Germany, and satellites in Austria and Poland. So in this way, these 3 million workers, hopefully, we will be achieving to reskill and upskill. We are also developing a new professional study program, which for you is now not relevant, but also we try to develop the policies around Europe through so-called Wood Bob initiative that was initiated by Austrian and Finnish government to develop policies that will enable entrance of wood into the sector of built environment. But for really end, I hope that some of you would join us this August on a summer school. Our summer school is in your winter. We are organizing it at the University of Primorska, Wood for Sustainable Built Environment. It's 2 weeks long. It's about 300 euros. And then, of course, hopefully your university can support you with some financing for the travel and accommodation that will be organized in student dormitories. And it's an international in English. We still have just a few spaces available, but I would be super honored if one of you would call and say, I'm coming. So thank you. Sustainable, the better and beautiful as in the frame of the new European Bauhaus should be our work. Thank you.
Thank you very much for this presentation.
Una consulta respecto a aquí en Chile hay muchos sismos, por ende la construcción en madera. Me preguntaba si ustedes ya trabajaban con algunos sistemas antisísmicos y cuáles serían más o menos o cuánto está aguantando un edificio de tan altos pisos. Gracias.
Yeah. So we are also located in a seismically active zone, and timber buildings are known to behave way better than other in the case of an earthquake. Our building, this one, we actually use as a study material as well, and in 2 ways. One was that as we were constructing it, we were shaking it and measuring the displacements, and then how, when adding windows, when adding the facade, how it behaves. And now what we have is that we have a weather station on the roof that in case that the wind, which in our region comes to up to 140 kilometers an hour. When this happens, it triggers the measurements of the building, the displacements. Because it's similar forces as in case of a earthquake. And so we are learning and also communicating this because we believe that's an important aspect and additional reason why to use it.
So how strong are your earthquakes?
Well, we had 2 years ago in Zagreb, it was 7, I think, and damaged many buildings. In Italy, we have earthquakes often. In Slovenia, the last big one that was in kind of Soča Valley, which was, I think, in 1995, something like that. And 130 years ago, our capital, Ljubljana, was actually destroyed by a huge earthquake. That sometimes people are saying we are just waiting for the next one to happen. Yeah.
¿Más consultas? ¿Alguna otra consulta?
No me quedó como muy claro el cómo lo hacían con la deforestación y cómo trabajaban eso.
Well, you didn't understand because it didn't say much, right? Sustainable managed forests is, of course, something that is super important. And in Europe, we do have this in place in majority of the countries, I would say. There are still some illegal logging, but it's not to the extent that we would say it's critical. But European Union is also aware that our increase in timber use is causing the harvest in other parts of the world. And so they are introducing a requirement that in 2025, every timber product will have to be marked where exactly they came from. And they want to prevent illegal logging in Amazonia and so on. And we are still, as researchers, we are developing systems for traceability. It's not that we have everything in place, but we have a huge urge to develop this that hopefully will also support that we will not have the illegal logging and in the parts of the world that the timber is also coming to Europe from.
Thank you.
¿Alguien tiene alguna otra consulta? Estamos para un tiempo para una consulta más. Algo que le haya llamado la atención o que le gustaría saber de sus proyectos personales.
Permítame.
Hello. Okay, I have a question. It is how free it is to design with reclaimed timber, and how does it work? Like using pre-used material, and how does it work? I mean, how much does it limit you to design having circular economy on mind?
Yeah. So for the interior use, it's of course then on architects that are searching around the material they want to implement. To use reclaimed timber as a building material, as a load-bearing structure, we are still developing all the certifications and rules, so this is not in place. However, we have a really good regulation in all of the European countries on the classification of a waste material. And what I would emphasize is that timber frame constructions where there are a lot of panels also used, for example, OSB, and they are the ones that will enable us the circularity, I believe. But of course, at the same time, we need to assure they will not be using too much of adhesives from fossil base. But I believe that we will have to go in these circles, and of course, legislation still needs to be developed. While for the interior, it's rather possible to use it already today.
I want to do my question in Spanish. Dos cosas que me interesaría que nos expliques mejor. Una es cómo es el proceso de diseño integrado. ¿Qué actores o qué profesionales ustedes ven que es necesario al diseñar un edificio en madera? ¿Cierto? Comparado con el proceso tradicional de diseño. Integrated design.
Can you maybe repeat it in English?
Okay.
Yeah, repeat it in English.
Okay,
Please. Yeah.
more technical.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the first question is, how do you see in practice and research that the integrated design process would be with the new professionals, for example, compared to traditional design methods or practice, yeah, as a usual? And the second question is about the legislation, the code that you were mentioning. So what is this about and how long did it take to modify or to get that code for timber construction?
So the first question regarding how it's going to change, of course, we need new professions at the site and so on. So in my belief, what is a must to introduce is the audit and the revision of the projects that, of course, look at it holistically if it's a timber building. Then when we are at the construction site, it's always an auditor, but there needs to be an auditor that knows the timber buildings, plus having a professional that is knowing how to measure moisture of wood, because of course you get wet during the construction, and it's nothing wrong as long as you dry it and not close it. And so this is, I think, one of the main ones. While a new business models, in my belief, will be developed with the sensors integrated into the building, so that companies delivering the construction will actually be guaranteeing that they will monitor that nothing will happen. That's in my opinion. Or like renting the windows, and they will be the company who will give you the windows, will be refurbishing it and so on, in order to kind of introduce new ways, especially also introduce new ways to enable it to people that also cannot afford, that can have a high quality built environment. So that's my belief that will happen. Regarding the second, the code. So the code, I think that the colleague that is working on Euro Code 5 will tell you, but I believe it's a long process to introduce a new material. But of course, there are different ways. First is like for example, CLT is just now slowly, maybe in a year or so, will become standardized, and still now we have to obtain the European technical assessment. It's a method that is still judging and evaluating the material that you can use it in building. And so it's a long process, obviously, of 10 years. It's 10 years probably, right? Yeah. Unfortunately, but of course the ones that are already in place, and the regulation in Slovenia about this green public procurement that we need to have, that Manja talked about, we have 30% of wood that needs to be put in every public building. This we were achieving also with a lot of communication and so on, but in general we achieved it also policymakers are understanding that the benefits of it. So.
Are you doing something? No, okay. Yeah. Gracias. Thank you very much for your presentation. It was a pleasure for us.